I'm like exploring around looking for loot, but this isn't really a loot game, is it? What the fuck? What is this? What is that? Good question! Are you? Oh! Hello everyone and welcome to another Mad Reflection. Today we're gonna talk about S.T.A.L.K.E.R, Shadow of Chernobyl. And as always, this is gonna be an audio experience from this point onwards. If you want to stick around, I have some gameplay for you that is taken from my stream. So let's get to it. For those of you who don't know, S.T.A.L.K.E.R Shadow of Chernobyl is an open world first-person shooter with a pinch of RPG mechanics. It takes place in an alternate future where another disaster has struck Chernobyl, creating the so-called zone, the area where the game takes place. The zone is a fairly lawless place, with a bunch of factions vying for power or just trying to exploit the zone for its riches. The purpose of the player, that means you, is to navigate this hostile environment, doing the main story, doing some certain side activities, gaining money, looting and shooting, all of that good stuff. S.T.A.L.K.E.R is often compared to the Fallout games, I've noticed, another fairly well-known game series that also deals with a post-disaster scenario. This comparison is not entirely unwarranted, however, I feel like the Fallout games are more heavily leaning onto the RPG mechanics, which S.T.A.L.K.E.R definitely does not. In fact, I feel it might, just might, be more appropriate to compare S.T.A.L.K.E.R to, say, an open world Half-Life type of game, because the moment-to-moment gameplay is fairly similar. You shoot enemies, you conserve ammo, you conserve health, you conserve your armor. Fairly similar. So with that very brief introduction out of the way, I just wanted to say that this game is a hidden, somewhat rough gem. And I'm gonna go through my reasoning for this statement in a few moments when we go into pros and cons. But I really mean hidden when I say hidden. I myself didn't really know about this game series' existence until, a few years after I finished the Fallout games. That's not to say that this game is like hidden away in like the darkest depths of Steam or whatever, because there's an active following for this game, and there's like an active modding community as well. However, I feel like this game is not quite as popular as, again, say the Fallout games or Half-Life or other shooters, really. Okay, so speaking of pros and cons, let's go into pro number one. The one and only pro I have for this game, actually. You might say that's not a lot, that means the game sucks, but no. This pro is so good, so massive that it makes up for the entire game in my own honest opinion. And that pro is the setting and how the game introduces the setting. So hear me out, right? We are playing in our world, in Ukraine in fact. And you see similarities straight away. You see humans walking around, just living their life, playing guitars, sitting around campfires, exploring the zone, doing whatever. We see AK weaponry, we see helicopters, we see people in like military suits and whatever. That is all familiar. That can be found in like any Call of Duty game ever, right? But there's something off about the zone, and this is the main point. You see like cracks in the fabrics of reality almost. And you see this very quickly actually when you boot up the game. So when you're exploring the main story in particular, you often come to these like laboratory places, like dank, narrow cave areas. And there you find things, I'm not gonna give any spoilers or whatever, but you find things that are not really part of the normal world as we know it. And you're not really sure what to expect. It's actually really terrifying. And the game doesn't actually give you any build-up really. So the introduction to this video is just one example of the supernatural weirdness you can find inside S.T.A.L.K.E.R. But there's also environmental hazards that are not really normal, as well as technology. Like technology that normal humans wouldn't be able to build, but that this tech is just sitting in the zone, being active, influencing people and the environment in weird ways. And again, you're not getting any warnings when you encounter something new, because from the game's perspective, these new weird alien elements are just part of the world. The reason why you're just so confused and so horrified at times is because you have a preconceived notion of what you expect to find in our normal world. So when I say that the game doesn't give you any warnings, I don't mean this in a bad way. No, on the contrary, the game is very good at building an appropriate atmosphere and ambience so that you really feel uneasy at times. So let me just summarize this pro by mentioning that the primary enjoyment I did get out of this game, and mind you, I did enjoy this game a lot, was having my preconceived notion challenged by just experiencing what the zone had to offer. The subtle and not so subtle supernatural elements harmonized, combined with what I would expect from, say, in a post-apocalyptic Ukraine. And so we arrive at the one and only con I have for this game. And yes, I realize that this list isn't very long, but neither is the game, so maybe things balance out. This con is the open world side activities you can do in S.T.A.L.K.E.R. I'm talking about finding hidden caches around the world, as well as doing side missions that quest givers can give you. These missions are fairly repetitive in my eyes. I got bored by doing them fairly quickly. Sometimes the missions are literally copy-paste versions of each other, and sometimes you even have to go back to areas you've been at and do the same activity as you did when you were there in the first place. I feel like more love could have been put into these side activities, but maybe the game series improves on this point in the sequels. The video isn't done there, however. I have two neutral points I want to share with you before we end this video. So the first one of these is the fact that the game is fairly old. I don't necessarily see this as a negative, because I don't really mind playing old games, but if you want to pick this game up, I felt that I should mention this anyways. So like, the voice acting, the lip syncing isn't, top tier. The graphics, is the quality you expect. The shooting mechanics are probably good for its time, but you can see the rust, now in 2020, right? But again, like, this doesn't really deteriorate from the game in my opinion, but maybe it will for you. I thought I should mention this. And so we arrive at the second neutral point, and this might also address the elephant in the room, and this is the fact that I haven't really talked about the story of this game as of yet. And the reason for this is the fact that I'm not really that excited about the story, to be honest. Like, don't get me wrong, the story is a perfectly functioning story. It's not bad, but at the same time, it doesn't really offer anything new. Like, the story doesn't offer anything that I haven't seen before. So there's that. I mean, there's like at least one cool, or maybe like two cool moments in the story, but again, these like cool moments are moments I have experienced in other video games. And as I mentioned in previous videos, I really like it when like games offer me something new and refreshing. So I guess bear that in mind also if you want to pick up this game yourself. So we arrive at the third neutral point, and this is a bit of a strange one. So I've been praising the world building of S.T.A.L.K.E.R quite a bit, right? However, there's one thing that doesn't really make sense to me. And this is the fact that there's not a single woman in the entire game. Yes, every character you come across is male. This doesn't make sense to me, but maybe there's like a good reason for it that I'm not aware of. Who knows? This doesn't really deteriorate from the rest of the game, but it's kind of strange. So that's gonna be it for this video, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. If you're interested in picking up a game where the setting blends the familiar with the unfamiliar, I would actually recommend S.T.A.L.K.E.R. Big surprise. But don't forget that you can watch me live on Twitch by following a link in the description below. But that's it! Thank you so much again for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace out.